Hey, Matt, I tell you, talk about a good Super Bowl. We're almost right into baseball season, and we should talk. Also, we have to talk about the Lakers' big victory against the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, that was a long time coming for the Lakers. I've had a busy couple of days, but I'm glad to be back on here. The Super Bowl was, it was what it was. But I'm also glad to be back on here, and a lot of stuff has been going on, but I'm glad to be back on here.
Well, let's talk about the Super Bowl first and get that out of our way because the Philadelphia Eagles and my guys from Alabama, Jalen Hurts and Devontae Smith, both got a Super Bowl ring. They came in with a plan to attack and beat Patrick Mahomes, give him a hard time, and at the same time, they just found a way to get this victory.
I think the main thing that really got me as to why the Eagles won, it was their defensive front. I know Howie Roseman is the Eagles general manager, but he drafted really, really well. He drafted basically the whole 2022 Georgia defense, and it worked because Patrick Mahomes could not find any cover. The offensive line was like a turnstile for the Chiefs, and Mahomes got hit early and often. And that's what you got to do.
You're right. That is something you really have to do. You're definitely right about that because, you know, Patrick Mahomes just didn't play well. I thought that they had a comeback in them, but it just didn't happen. The Chiefs are now 0-2 with Tom Brady in a Super Bowl.
That's a good one. I forgot about that. Brady called the game with Kevin Burkhardt, and he had the biggest grin on his face when he knew that it was over.
Well, what did you think of the halftime show with Kendrick Lamar? I liked it.
See, I liked it. I like Kendrick Lamar, but I feel like he was throwing a little bit too much shade towards Drake, which I get it because they have like some sort of a beef. But I liked it. I like it. I liked how Serena Williams was on there for a little bit.
Yeah, Serena Williams on there is definitely really really good by all means, and I think that it's a good this was a good what you call this. It was I thought it was an okay halftime show, but I thought the game ended up being boring after the first half.
And that was the thing. Like the first half happened, then there was the halftime show, and then it was basically just over after that.
And then we also have to talk about Jalen Hurts being the Super Bowl MVP. I thought how he played this game, he he played he did what he was supposed to do.
I'll tell you this. I mean, a lot of people don't remember this when it comes to Jalen Hurts. The last time the Eagles played in the Super Bowl against the Chiefs, Jalen Hurts played well in that game too. People don't remember that because they lost. But I think Hurts is just made for the moment. I mean, yeah, he lost one and he won one, but so far, if you put him in the Super Bowl, he looks like he could be something special.
Yeah, he sure did. I thought that was good, and the Eagles are looking to repeat heading into next year. Do you still think the Chiefs dynasty is over with this loss? I don't think it is.
I think they still have a lot left in the tank. I think that Travis Kelsey, even though he looked out of it after it was all said and done, I still believe that this Chiefs team will be back in the Super Bowl eventually. I just think that the Eagles found their footing now. I think winning the Super Bowl was massive for them. It's validation for Nick Sirianni because people wanted to fire him, because people wanted him gone after the Bucs game week 5. So I think that this whole Super Bowl is validation for the Eagle franchise. It's validation for Nick Sirianni. And yet again, we had to see Philadelphia fans act irresponsibly following the Super Bowl victory.
Yeah, this was basically Nick Sirianni saving his job.
Absolutely.
So, anyways, with that being said, here now, we'll have to talk about the last head coaching hire that was filled, and that was the New Orleans Saints hiring Eagles offensive coordinator Kellen Moore. And I'll tell you, even though the Eagles lost Kellen Moore, I still think the Eagles still have a very good football team. And with Kellen Moore, he has a lot of work to do in New Orleans.
Well, he's got a lot. Well, you're right because you got to work with Derek Carr. The Saints roster is mostly just made of a bunch of veterans who are getting up there in age. Um, I had a feeling it was going to be Kellen Moore because the Super Bowl was in New Orleans, and Kellen Moore just happened to be in New Orleans because of the Super Bowl. So he was there. He probably talked to Saints ownership a couple times, and that's what got him the job.
So basically, in my Madden league, Matt, Kellen Moore's first game as the New Orleans Saints head coach will be against, let me tell you, right, against the Carolina Panthers.
Okay, that's not a terrible. I think that's gonna be a tough one though, because I think Bryce Young finished the season very strong this season. Even though the Panthers weren't going anywhere, Bryce Young got his starting job back and he finished strong. So if the Panthers are given a little bit more respect in Madden, I think that may be a tough one for Kellen Moore.
Oh, yeah, and then also Kellen Moore brought Doug Nismer from Philadelphia to be his offensive coordinator. And do you think the Eagles have a chance to repeat?
Well, I think they're definitely going to win the NFC East and end the streak of consecutive division titles.
Which they should have had in 23.
Yeah. It should have happened in 23 had they not collapsed. But I look at the Eagles right now. I think they could definitely win the division title. I think that right now on paper they look like the best team in the NFC. I think
you
the
still
Lions
have Vic Fangio as the, what should we call this? Vic Fangio is still the defensive coordinator. The Eagles promoted Kevin Padlow as the offensive coordinator. I think that's a good move for the Eagles.
Yeah, and I think the thing is too, that the pass game coordinator was the guy who was promoted as offensive coordinator, so he has familiarity with the Eagles offense. And he has familiarity working with Nick Sirianni.
Oh, you're talking about Parks Frazier, who was the Colts interim offensive coordinator.
Yep, that's correct. Yes, absolutely.
Which hire?
Yeah. So when it comes to the Eagles right now, I think they have a really good plan in place. I think the staff looks good. I think unless the Detroit Lions completely fall off the face of the earth, I think it's the Eagles' conference to lose when it comes to the NFC because, quite frankly, I don't think there's anyone in the NFC that can challenge them. I think the Eagles are good. I think the Eagles have a really good roster. I think they have really good general manager. I think Howie Roseman is the best executive of the year. I still believe the Lions could give a little bit of a fight, but not having their two coordinators, I think, is going to hurt them.
Oh, what were you going to say again? Because you cracked up there.
Yeah. I think the Eagles can still repeat as NFC champions, but I think the Lions are going to come out and try to do something. But I think losing their two coordinators hurt them.
You're saying that losing two coordinators of the Lions could hurt them, but I still think the Lions still will be competitive.
They'll be a good team. They'll be a good football team. I just don't know if they'll beat Philadelphia.
Oh yeah, I don't think anybody. I don't think anybody in the NFC is going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles because you know how good they are and all that. But I still think Washington is still going to challenge Philadelphia for the division title.
Don't be surprised if the Commanders get a wild card spot again for the second year in a row. I mean, this team finished the season very strong in the regular season. They had a phenomenal playoff run. I think they ran into a buzzsaw when they played Philadelphia the third time, but I think they have a lot of upside.
And I was also asking you about out of the coaching hires that were hired this cycle, which hire did you like the most? For me, I like the Mike Vrabel hire. Not to be biased, I just think Mike Vrabel really fits the bill with what New England's trying to do and to rebuild the team.
I think the Mike Vrabel hire is the most sensical hire. I think that was a hire that the Patriots had to make. I do like the Ben Johnson hire just because the Bears needed a change in culture big time. So I like the Ben Johnson hire, but I think like the Patriots hire made the most sense. I think the Bears hire was the best.
Are you thinking that now that Ben Johnson is the head coach of the Chicago Bears, do you really think that Caleb Williams is going to benefit big time with Ben Johnson?
I think Caleb Williams should be able to throw for 4,000 yards. And the reason why I say 4,000 yards is because in the Chicago Bears 100 plus year history, they've never had a 4,000 yard passer. And I think they're due to have one.
And do you think this will be the year that Caleb Williams throws 4,000 yards under Ben Johnson?
I think 4,000 is a definite possibility with Ben Johnson working with Caleb Williams.
Well, the NFC North is going to get tougher now because, Minnesota's going to get J.J. McCarthy. We all know that. I think the Vikings are going to be so good with J.J. McCarthy. Green Bay is going to be good with Jordan Love. That division's loaded.
It is. It is a very loaded division. I wouldn't be surprised if they make a play to potentially have all four teams in the division make the playoffs, which sounds crazy, but it's a possibility. I mean, all four teams are either talented or upgraded.
Yeah, you're right. You definitely have a good point on that. But let's talk about another hire that you might like is Liam Cohn in Jacksonville. Do you think that he showed some enthusiasm when he was like, Duval?
It's funny because a lot of people in Jacksonville are making fun of him for that, and I'm honestly, I think he's going to turn fans off for that, but I think that his mindset and his credentials are going to help Trevor Lawrence out. I mean, yeah, you can make fun of him for lightheartedly saying Duval, but you know what? Watch, it's gonna be a blessing in disguise in 2 years' time.
I mean, with Liam Cohen saying that,
Yeah,
and for the Raiders, I mean, Pete Carroll. Was this are you a fan of Pete Carroll being the head coach of the Las Vegas Raiders?
I mean, the problem with me with Pete Carroll is I don't know how much energy he has left in the tank. I know that he is 73, 74 years old, and I know he wants to get back into coaching, but I think the organization he's with is bad, and I think the roster he has is not great.
What about Aaron Glenn to the New York Jets? Um, I think Aaron Glenn can do a good job with this New York Jets team.
I think the Jets can do well with Aaron Glenn. I think it's pretty obvious to say that the New York Jets love to hire defensive-minded coaches, and that's fine. That's just what they love to do. But I do have to say, with a grain of salt, the New York Jets are not anywhere near the Bills, and they're not anywhere near the Dolphins right now. So that's their biggest problem.
I don't think they're near New England right now.
Debatable.
Why is that debatable?
Because the Patriots got a new head coach, and that's fine. But the Jets still have a decent roster. The Patriots still have to go to the draft board to fix a couple things.
No, I think Mike Vrabel is going to do a good job. He's the right coach for the New England Patriots.
Yeah, no, I think the coaching hire was right for New England. I just don't know if the Jets. Well, the Jets actually have snapped their streak against New England not too long ago. I think it just really depends on what team is better on paper, and right now the Jets are just a little bit better on paper than New England.
And then we also have to talk about Brian Schottenheimer to the Dallas Cowboys. There was rumors about the Cowboys tanking for Arch Manning. There's speculation on that. And there's also speculation, like, my bold prediction is he could be a one and done head coach.
I remember you telling me that off air that you think that's going to be the case. Brian Schottenheimer is a puppet. He's not like Mike McCarthy. Why? Because Mike McCarthy can stand up to authority. Brian Schottenheimer's not going to do that. Same thing with Matt Eberflus, who was hired as the Cowboys' new defensive coordinator. The Jerry Jones made up a coaching staff full of puppets and weak-minded people. And that's what he wants.
I think the Cowboys, to me, are still a third-place team. They still got Dak Prescott. They still got some talent, but their cap situation is in flux.
Yeah, it's the cap. It's the fact that Zach Martin retired earlier this week. It's the fact that, they haven't really spent their money in free agency wisely. And I think it's just also Jerry Jones being a control freak. I mean, I don't really know what else to say about Dallas. I think they're stuck in third.
They are, but luckily they're not bad as the New York Giants.
You're right about that.
So basically, Brian Schottenheimer to coach the Dallas Cowboys. I think I'm not sure about the hire, to be honest.
I know you aren't a big fan of it, but I do think that, like I said before, I think it's not going to last long. But I do think Brian Schottenheimer has something to offer. I think you got to give him a little bit of a chance, but I don't think he's going to do well.
Well, his dad was a head coach.
And the late Marty Schottenheimer, yeah.
The late Marty Schottenheimer was a successful NFL head coach, but he never succeeded in the playoffs where it mattered.
Yeah, that was bad.
So that basically tarnished his legacy.
Yeah.
And now to the fun part. We should talk about some of our top free agents and where they're going. Let's start with Aaron Rodgers. I think the Jets are going to cut him. And I think my prediction on where Aaron Rodgers goes, I like him with the Pittsburgh Steelers and Mike Tomlin. I just think that him going there will help. He'll be around a good supporting cast with George Pickens, Pat Freiermuth. And then if they resign Najee Harris, that's a good offense around him.
I know Aaron Rodgers still has a lot of talent left at age 41. But I think the game against the Miami Dolphins in the regular season finale, I think, was the perfect way to end his tenure with the Jets. But as far as whether or not he should play again, I think maybe the Raiders, he goes there. Maybe the Steelers. I think it just really depends on the situation. I mean, Pittsburgh is stuck in a rut. They can't win. They make the playoffs, but they don't win playoff games. The Raiders are looking to do a complete culture shift. I mean, if you ask me, I think Aaron Rodgers goes towards retirement. But if he decides to play again, I think maybe the Steelers.
Let's throw in the Titans in there just in case.
Maybe Tennessee, maybe. Well, they're going to get Cam Ward with the number 1 overall pick, so.
That's what I think. But also, let's talk about our next quarterback, and that is Sam Darnold. I think he leaves Minnesota for J.J. McCarthy to start. I think Sam Darnold's going to be a Raider.
I actually think Sam Darnold's going to stay in Minnesota. I think even though he had a horrible end of the season, losing the Detroit game the way he did and then losing the Rams playoff game the way he did, I still think Sam Darnold gives the Vikings morale high in the locker room. And even though Sam Darnold's going to be a backup when J.J. McCarthy takes the starting job back, I think that Sam Darnold is going to be a good team player and accept his role as a backup and keep the guys in the locker room in good spirits. So I think Sam Darnold stays in Minnesota.
Let's talk about Marcus Mariota. I mean, he's a free agent, and I wonder where he's going to go. I think Miami needs a backup quarterback in the worst way possible.
Yeah.
I think the best fit for Marcus Mariota is the Miami Dolphins. I'm going to say the Raiders because of his familiarity with Chip Kelly.
I like that you brought the Miami Dolphins because every time Tua gets concussed, they put in a subpar backup to fill in his place. And that's what gives the Lions a disadvantage because when Tua's not starting, they stink.
Are you talking about the Miami Dolphins?
Yes.
I think for my free agent prediction, I'm looking at others right now. Mac Jones is a free agent. I'm going to predict Mac Jones goes to Miami.
Like I said, they need better backups than Tyler Huntley, so I don't see why not.
The reason why I say Mac Jones to Miami is because he knows Jalen Waddle. He knows how to get the ball to the receivers. And when Tua's hurt, I think he's a good insurance policy. That's why I want Mac Jones to reunite with Tua Tagovailoa in Miami.
Not terrible. Not a terrible idea.
Since I know that Jones was a New England Patriot during his first time around, and I think Mac Jones would be a decent backup for Tua.
Not a bad idea.
And then we talk about another. Let's see what other quarterbacks are out there that are free agents that could.
Russell Wilson.
Let's talk about Russell Wilson. Where do you think he plays? I think with my prediction about Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh, if I see Russell Wilson being a starter somewhere, that's tough to tell, you know.
If I had to pick Russell Wilson to go somewhere, I think maybe the Raiders because Pete Carroll's there. He has familiarity with Pete Carroll, and I can't really see Russell Wilson going anywhere else. Not
Are
even
you
the Jets
saying
or
that
Giants.
did you like my prediction about Marcus Mariota going to the Raiders because of Chip Kelly?
I mean, I think he could be a backup. I think if Marcus Mariota goes to Las Vegas, I think all he can be is a backup, and I think they'll bring in Russell Wilson to make him the starter.
I really could see that. I mean, that's your scenario with Russell Wilson being the starter for the Raiders. That definitely would be that would definitely be really good for the Raiders. I mean, I don't know if he has receivers to throw to. The Raiders are gonna have to invest on some receivers too.
Yeah, I think it takes more than just getting a quarterback in free agency. The Raiders need to draft really well this offseason.
They're gonna have to nail everything in the draft. But let's talk about a franchise tag news that the Cincinnati Bengals. I thought T. Higgins was gonna leave the jungle, and I thought New England and Jacksonville will be in the mix for him, but T. Higgins staying in Cincinnati for now, which I think is good, but I think that the Bengals are not going to pay both him and Jamar Chase.
Well, the way it works right now is T. Higgins gets the franchise tag, and eventually franchise tag players have to seek long-term deals, and if they don't, then they're gone the following season and cannot come back and play under the tag a second year in a row. That's the situation with T. Higgins right now. And I think Cincinnati came so close to making the playoffs. They ended the season so strong. I think if you're the Bengals, you'd be stupid to let T. Higgins walk.
Absolutely. But do you still think the Bengals will give Jamar Chase a long-term extension?
Oh, they have to. He won the Triple Crown this year. You got to give him his dues.
Yes, because, he and Joe Burrow are basically, let me say this again. Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow are basically the franchise players of the Cincinnati Bengals.
Absolutely.
Those are your two. But I think T. Higgins, he might have priced himself out. Say if he gets a 3-year deal to stay with Cincinnati for less money, that's probably going to work.
I mean, yeah, I think he's willing to take a smaller offer from the Bengals because I think he just likes it there. And honestly, if he were the number one receiver on a bad team, he wouldn't be happy there. Like if you take T. Higgins off the Bengals and put him on the Giants and make him the number one receiver, or even a number two next to Malik Neighbors, it wouldn't be fun for him.
Oh no. It will definitely not be fun for him. Looking at some other free agents to talk about, our next top free agent is Khalil Mack. I think Khalil Mack still has something to offer for an elite defense, but don't be shocked if he goes to the Buffalo Bills because he played college football there, and Khalil Mack to the Bills would make that Bills defense even scarier.
The Bills need something. They need something defensively to put them over the hump. They can't beat the Chiefs when it matters. And you have a good front, but you need to make it better. Maybe just getting Khalil Mack would be a good idea.
Well, and then we also were you agreeing with me about Khalil Mack to Buffalo?
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a trade / free agent prediction for Matthew Stafford. Let's see. Do you think he stays with the Rams? Does he get traded, or do the Rams just cut ties with him?
I mean, he's 30. He's 37 years old. He can still play at a high level.
Because here's the thing about what Sean McVay said. Sean McVay said that he thinks Jimmy Garoppolo could be a bridge guy.
I mean, I think the Rams have a better backup on the bench than Stetson Bennett, but I guess they don't care about him as much. If it's Jimmy Garoppolo that's leading the way if Stafford goes, I'm not really thrilled about it because Garoppolo has a good small sample. His small sample is good, but then once he started more games, he started to get worse.
Yeah, you're. Yeah, I mean, I think that the Rams are probably going to do a bridge type of guy to help bridge it to the long term quarterback. But let's talk about Kirk Cousins. Do you think he would want to stay in Atlanta to be a backup to Penix? I don't think he does. I think he probably needs to go to a team where I think he can start.
Well, the thing with Kirk Cousins is the fact that he got all that guaranteed money and now he's on the bench. And I heard the Falcons might not bring him back. And if he does not come back to Atlanta, I could see maybe one of the New York teams picking him up and signing him.
You mean the Giants or the Jets for Kirk Cousins?
Yeah.
If it's the Jets, I mean Kirk Cousins, he's probably going to not have some good games. He's probably going to be a turnover machine like usual.
I think he could actually be better as a Jet than as a Giant. If he was a Giant, he would have almost nothing around him. At least the Jets have good offensive pieces around him with Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall. But I can't see Kirk Cousins thriving in Big Blue.
Let's talk about Justin Fields because the Steelers think that they need to keep. They're willing to keep either one, but do you think Justin Fields stays in Pittsburgh?
I think Russell Wilson is old and worn out. I think that if you ask me, Justin Fields is the guy in Pittsburgh. And the reason why is because he's just got more upside. He's younger and he has a better playmaking ability.
You thinking he might be the face of the Steelers franchise?
Yeah, but not for a long period of time.
Well, let's talk about Stephon Diggs. He was out for the season. I know that he's looking to right his ship. Do you think he stays in Houston?
I think they got to bring him back, especially because Tank Dell might not play for a whole year with a torn ACL, and you only have Nico Collins.
No, because I think Tank Dell will be back this upcoming season.
Well, the tough thing is he tore his ACL in the Chiefs game on December 21st, and sometimes torn ACLs take a long time to come back from. If he were to start opening day, that would be a miracle for Tank Dell.
So he was out for this season. I just don't know if he's going to be out next for the entire season of 25.
That's the question on everybody's mind. Is Tank Dell going to come back for opening day? Is Tank Dell going to be back early in the year? Is he going to come back in the middle of the year?
What about Joe Flacco? Do you think Joe Flacco will be back as an Indianapolis Colt to back up Anthony Richardson? Because I think Anthony Richardson, the Colts still believe in him as the franchise quarterback, but at the same time, you got to get a veteran backup to still help him.
That's the thing. I think that, Joe Flacco is a good serviceable backup for Anthony Richardson. I can't really see anyone else replacing Joe Flacco in Indianapolis. I think you stick with him for now.
So do you think that, speaking of Anthony Richardson, you think that Anthony Richardson is going to bounce back in year 3?
I think by now, Anthony Richardson should at least take the Colts to playoffs by now.
Because the AFC East is tough. And do you think the Colts are a playoff team next year?
I think they just missed the wild card.
Does that mean they fire Shane Steichen?
If things improve and the scoreboard doesn't speak for itself, if they're actually putting together good efforts every week, then yes, I think that will come back.
Well, because here's the thing. Shane Steichen has to realize the AFC is a tough conference, and you're not going to get results.
Yeah, it's going to take some time. I think Shane Steichen got his quarterback, but so far he's looking for results, and quite frankly, he hasn't gotten it yet.
You gotta give it time here, but we also we also have to talk about. Let's see if there's another free agent that we should talk about here.
There's
This
actually a couple big trades that are possible. Debo Samuel and Cooper Kupp.
Let's talk about those. Debo Samuel, traded or not traded?
I think he'll be traded.
To where?
I think he'll be traded to a team like the Los Angeles Chargers.
And why do you think he would be such a good fit down with the LA Chargers and with an offense with Jim Harbaugh?
Because right now the Chargers are one-dimensional. They rely on one facet or avenue every single game. I think that in order to make the Chargers explosive, you need a guy that can do everything, and Debo Samuel can do just that.
Well, do you think it's just the Herbert and McConkey show?
I mean, I think Lab McConkey is the number one guy, but that doesn't mean Debo Samuel can't contribute.
Well, and then I think the Chargers may need to look at getting a running back too.
Well, that's if J.K. Dobbins can't stay healthy.
Well, and then we also could talk about Kyle Trask, who's a free agent. Man, the Bucks kind of did him dirty.
They did. Well, he kind of did himself dirty. Not gonna lie.
I think he backs up Trevor Lawrence in Jacksonville. Joins Liam Cohen there.
I like that. I think that's a good mindset you have.
And then you got free agents such as Chris Godwin, Shaq Barrett, Lavonte David. Do you think those guys stay in Tampa Bay?
I think they all stay.
I think they'll have the money to keep them, keep them all there, because I don't think it would be silly if they don't leave.
Agreed.
If they do leave, it's going to be silly for both of them, you know.
I agree.
And then you talk about Cooper Kupp. Does he stay with the Rams or does he get traded?
It's unfortunate because Cooper Kupp did say he wants to stay with LA, but I think LA is trying to get some pieces of some draft capital for him that they're willing to sacrifice him. And I think that's not cool.
Yeah, what about keeping and do you also think that Brock Purdy should get a contract extension?
I wouldn't give him too high of an extension because Brock Purdy has proven that he can win regular season games, but the playoffs, he looks like he runs into a buzzsaw.
You might be right about that because, Brock Purdy is good, but he's not great.
No, not there yet.
And here is another question for you. Do you think Tyreek Hill gets traded? I don't think he does. He just was too emotional after that Dolphins loss to the Jets.
Yeah, I think that's what happened because it seems like there hasn't been any news about Tyreek Hill since that outburst they made towards a report about leaving the Jets and going to the Dolphins. I think he just joked around about that. I think he's going to regret it when he hears it again, that recording. I think Tyreek Hill stays in Miami.
Now let's talk about some little bit of NBA stuff. Let's talk about the Lakers beating the Mavericks yesterday. I mean, talking about the Lakers getting Luka Doncic, I think it was worth every penny for the Lakers to get him. It made me think that now Luka Doncic is now the Lakers franchise guy. I think Luka Doncic is going to be a Laker long term.
It's looking like that. I think that LeBron James and JJ Redick did a great job of recruiting Luka Doncic to come to LA. I think the only problem is when you get a free agent of that caliber, the team that you take him away from is going to be bad. I mean, that's how I see it when it comes to Luka Doncic. I think Luka Doncic is going to make the Lakers better, but the Mavericks just shot themselves in the foot. They lost the Warriors today, and I think that the Mavericks are going to be in free fall the rest of the year.
Yeah, the Mavs are definitely going to be. The Mavs are definitely. I mean, I don't know why Nico Harrison did that. I think that I kind of think that what you would call this. I kind of think that what was I going to say? That I think that
there's something along the lines of of a coach. I forget which one.
JJ Redick. I mean Nico.
JJ Redick, yes, JJ Redick with the Lakers.
No, I think that Nico Harrison is. I felt like he didn't handle this very well.
Nope, and people in Dallas want to rip his head off.
They absolutely do, because I think that they definitely want to, uh, they definitely want to call
They
this.
want to run him out of town.
They definitely do want to run him out of town. That's for sure. But we also have to talk about the unfortunate news of Victor Wembanyama out for the
Oh
year
yeah.
with a shoulder clot. This kind of ruins the Spurs playoff chances, and he was having a season whereas he was already on track to be the defensive player of the year and all that.
Yeah, it's such a shame. The Spurs are also in a tough situation because in addition to losing Victor Wembanyama, they confirmed that Greg Popovich is not returning to coach this season. So that's a little bit of a hard pill to swallow. And honestly, I think after suffering that stroke that he had, I think Greg Popovich should just retire at this point.
Yeah, I think he should. I think the Spurs still have a bright future. I think Victor Wembanyama is going to be fully healthy next year.
Yeah, listen, I think like Victor Wembanyama is going to be good. I think now that they got De'Aaron Fox at the deadline, they're going to be really good and maybe compete for a play-in spot or even a playoff spot. But I think it all has to start with a brand new head coach. And I think Greg Popovich, I respect him for what he's done for the NBA, but I think it's time for him to just call it a career.
Yeah, my 2K league, I have the Lakers in the 2 seat since the Luka Doncic trade.
Nice.
But Boston still has the better record in my 2K league.
Right.
Still does. But even if the Lakers and Celtics were to play in the finals in my 2K league as the 2 seeds, Boston gets the home court advantage.
Okay.
Just because they have a better record
Uh-huh.
than the Lakers.
Yes.
If you know what I mean.
Yes.
And I honestly would want that. Could you see a Lakers Celtics NBA finals this year?
That'd be cool. I mean, I think that there's a couple teams in the West that are better than the Lakers. Like I think the Thunder are really good. I think the Rockets are really good. I think that even though Denver lost to the Lakers recently, I think they're better than the Lakers. Ultimately, if you had to ask me like who the NBA Finals will be, I would tell you it's the Cavaliers and the Thunder.
Why do you think it's going to be Cleveland and OKC?
Well, because OKC has, I think, the new MVP of the NBA. I think Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think, is going to win NBA MVP this year because of how well he's been playing. And then the Cavaliers, they're 46-10, but they play like it. I mean, this is a well-balanced team. They really are, and I think they can take Boston down.
I mean, they can, but I think Boston can beat them in 7.
It's possible. I think they can go to a 7-game set, but even if it doesn't, I think Cleveland can come out on top. I don't know why. I just feel like that way.
Well, I mean, talk about the Brooklyn Nets for a little bit. I mean, you said you like that they're hanging in there, but they're probably not going to make the playoffs.
I think we may make the play-in tournament. I think we do. The Brooklyn Nets have won 7 of their last 9 games. They're hot right now. They're only a half game behind Chicago for that 10 spot. And if they get that, I'm not saying they're going to win the play-in tournament, but I do think that they're going to at least put up a competitive fight. Nick Claxton putting it with the putback yesterday against the Sixers, that was massive for their play-in chances.
Anyways, now we got to talk a lot about baseball. I mean, it's back, spring training's back, but before we talk about spring training and all that, let's predict our division winners.
Okay.
Let's start with the NL West. And you and I already know where we're going.
No. I believe it or not with the NL West, I'm more interested to see who comes in second.
No, I'm saying that let's just get it out of the way. My pick to win the NL West is obviously my team, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Yeah, same. I agree.
Second place, I'm going to say who's better talent-wise between Arizona and San Diego. I'm going to say second place, San Diego. I think the second place team is going to be the San Diego Padres. They have guys like Joe Musgrove. They have guys like Cease, Machado, Tatis. But I still think that the Padres can still challenge the Dodgers in some way. But I still think that I think the Dodgers can win the season series with the Padres again.
Well, I think second place in the NL West, I would probably say the Diamondbacks. And the reason why I say the Diamondbacks is because they got Corbin Burns, they got Josh Naylor, they beefed up their rotation. They look really good on paper. The batting order looks solid. I think that if you're the Diamondbacks, you can make some noise in the playoffs, especially because they just missed the playoffs last year. And I think they're looking to get back there.
Third place for me is the Diamondbacks. Fourth place is the Giants. And the fifth place is the Colorado Rockies.
I have the Padres in third. I have the Giants in fourth. I have the Rockies in fifth.
Yeah, I think that the NOS is between the Dodgers, Diamondbacks, and Padres.
Pretty much.
Now to the AL West.
Okay.
My pick to win that division is going to be the Texas Rangers if they're healthy, because they're going to get Jacob deGrom back. They just got Eovaldi back. They have a very good lineup with Semien, Seager, and Albampe, Adolis Garcia. Houston can still be good, but I just think Texas is better.
I think the ALS will come down between the two Texas teams, and the reason why I say that is because even though Houston they lost Bregman and they lost a couple really good players, I still believe the Astros can still win the division somehow. But I like where Texas is done. I think the Texas Rangers have a lot more upside, but I gotta go with the Astros because of how much of an annoyance they can be.
Second place for me is the Houston Astros. The third place team will be the Seattle Mariners. The fourth place team will be the Los Angeles Angels of Anaheim. And then last place, the Oakland A's. I didn't want to go out on a limb on the Athletics because they're playing in a small minor league ballpark for the next 3 years. The Angels, I think they have better talent when they're healthy, but don't be shocked if the Angels go in last place.
All right, so I have the Astros in first. I think the Texas Rangers finish in second. I think the Mariners finish in third. I think they're just stuck in the middle of that division. I'm going to say the Sacramento A's come in fourth. And the reason why is because they're making free agent moves. And they're spending money like they've never spent before when they were in Oakland, which is kind of messed up because new city, new approach. Like they got Luis Severino, which I thought was a very, very sneaky move to do. I think, like I said, they're going to finish in fourth place, but I think they're better than the Angels.
Are you saying that because look what the Angels did? They got Kyle Hendricks, they got Jorge Soler, they got Kenley Jansen, and they got Yohan Moncada, and then Anthony Rendon is a fool of himself.
Anthony Rendon, that has to be one of the biggest busts in Major League Baseball history.
Yeah, he was so good in Washington, and now with the Angels, he hasn't stayed healthy.
Nope. Not at all.
So basically, in my show league, it could go either way between the A's and the Angels.
Yeah.
So, anyways, now let's go to the NL Central. This team that I want, we talked about that this Reds team was my preseason, was my pick to win. Was kind of like, I think the Reds have a chance to win the NL Central, but I'm going to go with them because Terry Francona is there. I think he's going to work well with these young guys like Hunter Green, Ellie De La Cruz, Tyler Fiedel, and you also talk about guys like Spencer Steer and all those guys. This young Reds team is going to listen to Terry Francona.
I think sometimes a veteran manager can help young players. And I think if you ask me, I think the Cincinnati Reds have a lot of potential to do well. A lot of people love the Milwaukee Brewers, and a lot of people like the Chicago Cubs because they got Kyle Tucker. But I think first place will go to Cincinnati. I think first place is Cincy. I think second place is Milwaukee. I think third is Chicago. I think fourth is the Pittsburgh Pirates. They don't do anything. And, well, they got Tommy Pham. I think the Cardinals are just a wasteland at this point.
Yeah, and the Cardinals, they're probably not going to trade Nolan Arenado at this point because I don't think any team wants him right now.
No, it's a shame because he was a high-profile free agent, but he's not going to go anywhere.
How I see that with the Reds, They'll be in first, but I have them winning, I'm going to say 88 games.
Okay, 88-74, not bad.
Because I have them winning 88 games, still in first place, because I think the Cubs will finish with 84 wins, probably fall
Fair.
short of a playoff playoff spot.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Brewers going 82 and 80,
Ouch.
and they still have a solid season.
They do have a good roster, and they are trying to pay tribute to Bob Uecker this season, which I like.
And then the Pirates, why I think they're in fourth, I think their lineup is pretty decent, but it's all about Paul Skeens.
Yeah, I think the Pirates did really nothing to do to build around their star player, and I think they got to learn that lesson over the next year to realize, hey, we got a diamond in the rough here. Let's help them.
And then in last place, the Cardinals, and I'm like, do they deserve to be on national TV right now? No. They shouldn't be on Sunday Night Baseball? No.
Now, the Cardinals are a dump. I hate to say that, but no one wants to go to St. Louis.
Yeah, that used to be a free agent destination, but now it's not.
Yeah, I think once their big three left, I think that was it.
You're right, because in my show league, when I first got MLB The Show, the Cardinals won the World Series in 22 because of their big three.
Yep.
And then since that World Series win in 22, it's been a mess in St. Louis.
It has no stability whatsoever.
And I'm like, why did they not even, when you talk about managers on hot seats heading into this year, Ali Marmol has to be on the hot seat.
Very much so. This team has no direction whatsoever.
They're like the Rockies. They're like the White Sox. They're like Toronto in a way. And they're like the Marlins. I think the Marlins are a way bad organization than St. Louis.
They fired Kim Neg, and they've been terrible ever since.
That's what we'll have to talk about there. And the reason why I picked Cincinnati to win the division, win 88 games, because the NL Central is such a dumpster fire, and LA De La Cruz is going to probably take advantage of the managing from Terry Francona.
I think that the Reds have a lot of potential, and I know that they're still a young team, but I think under Terry Francona's guys, I think LA De La Cruz can eventually, not this year, but maybe next year, win an MVP award for the National League.
Could you see him being a starting shortstop of the NL All-Star team?
I can consider it.
It's got to be between him and Mookie Betts and Francisco Lindor.
Yep.
So, anyways, now let's go on to the AL Central. That's also a weak division.
Not entirely.
Well, I'll tell you who I think should win that division. I mean, the Tigers, why I think they would win that division, I think because Tarek Skubal, their offense, their lineup is young, but it's not really that good. But to me, who I think should win that division, I'm going to pick the Detroit Tigers to win that division, but they're going to be like the Reds. They're probably going to win 88 to 87 games.
So my division winner for the AL Central is something that a lot of people are kind of sleeping on. I wouldn't be surprised if the Kansas City Royals do something amazing this year. I think Bobby Wood Jr. might have an MVP caliber season for the American League this year. I think Bobby Wood Jr. is my AL MVP this season. The Royals are well-rounded. They got a good rotation. They're managed really well. And I think that the Guardians losing Josh Naylor and a couple other players, that just opens the door for Kansas City.
That you're right about that because I'm thinking that in my show league and in real life, I picked the Detroit Tigers. Or let me. I think I'm going to change my mind here.
And it was, like I said, Kansas City, like Bobby Wood Jr. came on really strong this past season, and they got a good 9-hole hitter. They got a good rotation. They got so much going for them. I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City wins.
They have a lot going for them. They were a playoff team a year ago, and I don't think the Royals are a 100-win team. I mean, the AL Central is kind of like guess and check.
Yeah, I think they can win 92 games. the Kansas City Royals.
Yeah, for me, it's between them and the Guardians.
I mean, the Cleveland is good. They're still young. I like Steven Vogt as their manager, but I think the problem with me and Cleveland is Josh Naylor leaving is big because Josh Naylor is their clutch hitter, and now they don't have him unless Jock Henry Noel decides to step up.
I think Big Christmas does step up because that guy was a playoff hero
He was.
against your Yankees. The Big Christmas. Big Christmas can Big Christmas can hit. He's probably their best player.
No, I think Jock Henry Noel might turn some heads as like maybe their key hitter.
So for me, my division pick to win the my pick to win the AL Central, I'm going Kansas City Royals. I think it's Bobby Witt Jr. because there'll be a 90 to 92 win team, but be a 3 seed.
And that's fine. That's fine. Now as far as my placement, I got the Royals in first. I got the Guardians in second. I got the Tigers in third, but I think they make the playoffs. And then fourth, I got the Twins. Last place, I got the White Sox.
I have it in that order too. I think Cleveland second, Detroit third, but the White Sox. I'm gonna probably be over exaggerative with their loss total this year. I think they're gonna lose 140 games.
Oh my God.
I'm being very exaggerative here.
That's really exaggerating.
It's because they're not good right now. They have a I mean, who took that job? Will Venable. Will that will the White Sox be good under him this year? No.
Now that they need a whole lot more than just a manager change.
Yeah, they had to get rid of Pedro Grifol. I mean, they got rid of Kopech, which is good, and Luis Robert is just stuck there.
Yeah, I think at this point the White Sox are taking Luis Robert hostage. Teams want to trade for him, but no one wants him.
Yeah, nobody wants Luis Robert. I think that the White Sox are a team that is kind of a dumpster fire at this point. The reason why I say they lose 140 games is because what I'm really trying to say is that the Chicago White Sox front office is still a joke.
Yeah.
They don't have any good resources whatsoever.
Uh-uh.
They're a team that just basically couldn't even win with Tony La Russa as their manager.
Oh God.
And the Tony La Russa regime was just rest in peace.
Yep. Not a good tenure at all.
And for the Twins, I still think they can be a wild card team. I mean, they still got Pablo Lopez as their ace, and they still have a pretty decent lineup.
I mean, the Twins are good. They should have been in the playoffs had they not collapsed last year.
But, anyways, let's talk about the beasts of the NL East. My pick to win that division is going to be the Atlanta Braves. Ronald Acuna Jr. is going to come back. Everybody's going to be healthy. The Atlanta Braves are a team that can make noise when they're healthy.
So I'm going to go with you. I'm going to say the Braves as well. I initially said the Phillies, but I'm going to say the Braves because they got Jurickson Profar, which was a really solid move. They're going to get a lot. They're going to get Spencer Strider back. They're going to get Ronald Acuna Jr. back. I think the main problem with the Braves is they have to stay healthy. And if they don't stay healthy, they fall apart.
And then my second place team will be the Philadelphia Phillies.
I'm going with the Phillies as well in second. I just think the Phillies didn't really do much to persuade me. I mean, yes, they got once. I mean, the Phillies, they missed out on a lot of guys, but they got Max Kepler.
Oh, let me take that back. Who I think will finish in second place. I think the Phillies will still be a playoff team, but my second place team is the New York Mets.
I mean, listen, $800 million. That's all you need to know. And I think if this Juan Soto contract does not work after 5 years, then there's a problem.
No, I think Juan Soto is going to be great in Queens.
I mean, he wanted the money, he wanted the box seats, he wanted the amped up security, he wanted it all. Now he's got it, but now he's got to play like it.
In third place, I got the Philadelphia Phillies.
Third place, yeah, I respect that. I mean, the Phillies only got Max Kepler. That's really all they did. They didn't really make any major moves.
Well, not exactly. I still think Dave Dombrowski still believes in them, and then I think the reason why the Mets I think will be in second is because I think they'll have a pretty good starting staff.
They have a good staff. I think it's just a matter of how do you stand against the Braves and how do you stand against the Mets when you face them.
My fourth place team will be the Washington Nationals. This is a young team that has a lot of promise and a lot of potential. You're going to see Dylan Cruz, James Wood, C.J. Abrams be that core, that next core for the Washington Nationals.
I mean, the Washington Nationals have a lot of young talent, but they haven't really developed yet, and they haven't really found a way to win yet. So I think it's only a matter of time for the Nationals, but I don't think it's this year.
And then the last place team is the Miami Marlins. Ha ha.
I mean, listen, buying a ticket to a Miami Marlins game is just as much as buying an entire pie of pizza. That just tells you everything you need to know.
I don't think anybody likes to fill that stadium.
And it's a shame because their stadium is beautiful. It's a beautiful ballpark. No one likes to go inside.
I feel like Dodger fans can invade that ballpark.
Well, they kind of did last season when Ohtani had the 7-hit game.
Yeah, when he also had that 50-50 or something like that.
Yeah, he became the first person to hit 50-50, and then Dodger fans took over the ballpark.
They sure did. And now let's go to your division, the AL East. My pick to win that division, I'm going to pick the New York Yankees. I mean, even though they lost Juan Soto and that they didn't want to pay him, Brian Cashman was very smart with these moves this offseason.
So there's a phrase called think smarter, not harder. Now, thinking harder would have been give Juan Soto $800 million to keep him and then be kind of financially crippled after that. But what they did was they paid Max Fried, they paid Cody Bellinger, they got Paul Goldschmidt, they did a lot of stuff on their infield and outfield. They got Devin Williams. I think what the Yankees did was they focused on all their needs as opposed to focusing on one player. And you know what? That's how you got to be.
So you're thinking the Yankees win the division still?
Yes.
My second place team will be the Baltimore Orioles. I still like that roster. I like that team. Gunnar Henderson, going to be an MVP, going to be a dangerous player for them down the line. And
go ahead.
And Adley Rutschman is good too. So basically, Henderson or some amongst those lines could be, because I think Cedric Mullins can be a leadoff guy, but I think the leadoff guy is Gunnar Henderson.
I think that second place will be the Boston Red Sox. And we discussed this before we came on, that Boston getting Alex Bregman, getting Walker Buehler, and some of the other acquisitions they made over the offseason.
Oh, they got Crochet.
And Garrett Crochet. Like, they did so much over the offseason to help them beef up their roster, their pitching staff, all that. And I like Alex Cora a lot. I think that Boston can legitimately come in second. Do I think they're going to win the division? No. But I do believe that Boston can make a playoff push.
So third for me, I actually changed my mind. I think Boston will be a second place team. Third place will be the Orioles. Both will be in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's how I see it.
And then
fourth.
My fourth place team has to go to the Toronto Blue Jays, but they're probably going to be bad.
I mean, the Blue Jays really got shafted really bad. They basically told Vlad Guerrero Jr. and Bo Bichette, we're not extending you yet. And that rubbed their two players the wrong way.
And then in fifth place, the Tampa Bay Rays, but they won't be a bad fifth place team.
I mean, that division is so good. Unfortunately, one's going to have to finish last. But I think the worst thing for the Rays is that they're going to be playing at George Steinbrenner Field because their stadium at the Trop got destroyed by a hurricane.
In my show league, I might not do it there. I might do it in North Carolina, the Rays AAA Stadium.
Not a bad idea.
Because I might not have Steinbrenner Field there.
That's okay.
So I'm kind of thinking. So are you thinking that you still think New York the Yankees in first?
Oh, 100%.
Well, let me tell you who are my wild card teams.
Okay.
In the NL, I got who will have the 5 seed, who will have the 4 seed, will be the New York Mets. The fifth seed will be the Philadelphia Phillies.
Okay.
And the 6th seed will have to be, I would say, the San Diego Padres.
Okay.
And then my 1-2 in the NL will be the Dodgers and Braves. Dodgers 1 and the Braves 2.
Okay. My first wild card in the National League is going to be the Diamondbacks. And the reason why I pick Arizona is because I love what they did over the offseason. And so I think that they're going to, be a tough team to beat. I think in the wild card, they'll probably win because that's how good their rotation is. My second wild card in the NL, I'm going to go with the Atlanta Braves. And the reason why is because of getting Jurickson Profar, getting all their guys back. I think that that's going to be very beneficial for them. And then
actually, I changed my mind on my right here. I still have the Padres 4. I have the Phillies 5, and then the 6th seed would be the New York Mets.
And that's where I was going to go. 6th, I have the New York Mets. I think Juan Soto, first year of a brand new contract, I think he's going to show out.
And then my wild cards for the American League. Number 4 will be the Baltimore Orioles. Number 5 would be the number 5 would be the Boston Red Sox.
Okay.
No, actually 4 would be Boston. I'll have them host the Baltimore Orioles in the wild card round, and then one of those two will play the New York Yankees.
Yep.
And then the 6th seed will be I'm going to say the Houston Astros in the 6th spot.
Houston.
Yeah, I'll have them play because I have Houston playing the Kansas City Royals, and I have Texas number 2.
Interesting. All right. My first wild card is the Boston Red Sox. I can't ignore what they've done. I think Alex Bregman put them over the top. I think it's going to help them. My second wild card is the Baltimore Orioles. My third wild card is the Guardians.
And why do you say it's the Guardians?
Because I still think that they have a really nice and well-rounded roster. And I think Stephen Vogt is one of the up-and-coming managers in Major League Baseball.
You're right. I mean, he is very good. I'll tell you that. But
he's very solid.
Anyways, with March Madness coming out, let's do some rapid questions about each team. Let's talk about the UConn Huskies for men's. Are they on for a three-peat?
No.
And why?
Because they're weaker than they were last year. They lost a couple of their guys from last year, and they're not as good as they were.
Who do you think is your favorite right now to win the NCAA men's basketball championship? I'm going to go with my Duke Blue Devils. Cooper Flagg, I think is the reason why.
I think the Auburn Tigers can do it. And the reason why is because John Brome of Auburn has been sensational. And then my second would be Duke. My third would be Alabama. Alabama can score at will.
Who did you say was the best player on Auburn under Bruce Pearl?
John Brome.
Is he an NBA talent potential?
He's NBA worthy. Like I think next to Cooper Flagg, he's like the second best player in basketball. Excuse me.
Probably whoever lands the number 2 pick, he probably will be the number 2 pick.
Yeah.
And then why do you think Auburn can win the national title?
Because they got a very well balanced team. Their defense is good. They're the best team in the best conference, which is the SEC. And I think they've proven that they're battle tested. They've beaten Alabama before. And I think in a situation where they play Duke, I think they could probably pressure Cooper Flag.
Let's talk about this. Dick Vitale returns to the broadcast booth. This was long overdue. I mean, it makes me want to watch college basketball when Dick Vitale is calling a game.
Oh, it's a great sight to see. I love it. And I'm happy that he's back in the booth after battling cancer many times.
Every time I would step into a high school basketball game or anything like that, I always like to use these Dick Vitale mechanisms. That it's going to be awesome, baby.
I love it. I love that.
Because I always know how enthusiastic he can still be when he is at a college basketball arena calling a game with Dave O'Brien. And
oh, it's great. It's great.
And I know that he's battled cancer for 3 years. And you know what? He looks good. I'll tell you that. He looks really good.
No, he's keeping himself active, and that's always a positive.
And I know that Dick Vitale really likes the setting and all that, but I know that he doesn't do play-by-play. But do you really think that when there's a big basket made, why do you like it when he goes, oh, whoa?
Are you serious?
He does that to cut off the play-by-play announcer.
Yeah, he does.
He cuts off Dave O'Brien. He cuts off. He actually called the game with Carl Ravitch.
He did.
And then he also, and I know he's also had a good history with Dan Shillman.
Correct.
And I want to see him with Dan Shillman again. Because he would do, oh, unbelievable.
You got to love
What's
his
your
energy.
favorite? What's that?
You got to love his energy.
Yeah, he still has this, like every time I work a high school basketball game, if it's a really good one, I'm always going to use a Dick Vitale mechanism.
I love that.
That it's going to be awesome, baby. Or are you serious?
Yep.
Or America, did you just see that? It's because, and then remember the Austin Rivers buzzer beater against North Carolina? He was like, oh,
I love that. Yep, I remember.
Unbelievable.
Yep, I remember that clearly.
Because I saw that shot and Dick Vitale did all that.
Yep.
Because I think he likes to cut off. Do you think he just likes to cut off a lot of these play-by-play guys?
I think he just likes to show emotion.
I mean, since he returned to the booth, do you really think that college basketball is now the broadcast of college basketball on ESPN is much better?
With him around, yes.
Because he's like Lee Corso. Do you think he's like Lee Corso of college basketball?
They're very similar. Very similar.
Because Lee Corso is like not so fast.
Yeah, they're both up there in age for their respective sport, but they both have a lot of passion for their craft.
Well, and then talk about women's college basketball. I mean, are the UConn women Huskies, do you see them winning a national title? I want to see Paige Beckers win one.
I think that UConn can do it, but I think South Carolina might have something to say about that.
South Carolina, Don Staley. Don Staley is like one of the elite coaches in college basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And I also think USC is still good. I gotta love Juju Watkins.
Oh, she's amazing. She's amazing.
Because when I watch high school basketball, I can compare some players to how if they play like Juju or if they played like Caitlin Clark or Cam Brink.
Mm-hmm.
But if you talk about the women's college basketball playoffs, I kind of think Paige Beckers is right now the face of the sport.
Yeah, but I think once she goes to the NBA, to the WNBA, I think that's going to be Juju Watkins' league.
Why do you think that will be Juju Watkins?
Because I think after Paige Beckers, it's her, and that's it.
No, you're forgetting about UCLA. I mean, they had an undefeated season. They have a player named Betts that's really good.
Oh yeah, her. Yeah, I forget what her first name is, but I know who you're talking about.
Anyways, Matt, that's it to do it here. You have a good night, man.
Good night, everybody.